My name is Jeff Osinski, and I'm a vice principal at Northlands Parkway Collegiate.
And how long have you been in the education field?
31 years.
31 years. Were you vice principal of any place before NPC, or was that?
Yeah, I started at GVC as a vice principal.
Okay.
I had taught there for a number of years and then became vice principal. And then as soon as this school opened up, I moved over here immediately to open the school.
Okay. And
So I've been here 12 years now.
talk a little bit about that first year and how that went for you guys.
Well, the first year was exciting.
Yeah.
But with exciting also comes chaotic and
I'd imagine.
an awful lot of planning. You know, you're trying to set up a new environment for kids and for staff, knowing that we're all coming from an environment that was already pre-established,
Yeah.
GVC. So you want to make it new and special, and you want to go with your own vision, but you also want to make sure you encapsulate all the things that were working and all the things that you liked and people expected and they liked. So yeah, a very exciting year.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Getting started from, like, in a way, ground zero in a new building is...
For sure, and the building itself was not done.
Yeah.
So we couldn't run certain classes until like the second semester because construction wouldn't be finished. It was an interesting dynamic seeing 650 kids leave the building every day, and then 100 construction workers starting their shift and working till midnight or whatever.
Yeah.
It was a really interesting transition seeing all this happen at the same time.
Okay. And that construction, was that finished by the time the second year came around?
The construction was finished by the time the second year, and we were able to run all classes by second semester.
Okay.
I think mainly it was our culinary area that was still under construction as the major part.
Okay.
So
cool. Then is this something you always saw yourself doing?
Yeah, I didn't know where.
Yeah.
I had done some administrative work as both a vice principal and principal in other communities before moving to Winkler.
Okay.
And I enjoyed my time. They were both short stints, kind of term kind of stints.
Yeah.
But I definitely had a vision for education, and I was hoping to share it in a different way.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love teaching, and I did teach for 18 years, and I loved every minute of that. And to this day, I think fondly of the classroom, and but I've enjoyed my time doing this. It's you're helping in a different way.
Yeah. And does that, having done teaching and then moving to administration, do you think that being a teacher first kind of informed you on how to be a better administrator?
Yeah, you have to be a teacher first. Like, I mean, there's no rule saying you have to, but if you don't even know the ins and outs of kind of how a classroom works and expectations, I'm not sure how you'd be able to do the role of an administrator, because you wouldn't quite be in touch with what actually does the day-to-day work look like, because we're all here for students, right? So yeah, I think you really need some good solid time in the classroom before you can move on.
What would you say you're most proud of?
You know what? I'm proud of the culture that we've developed here. We work very, very hard on instilling in everyone, both students and staff, a mutual respect. We want everyone to take responsibility for what they do, and we work hard towards that.
Yeah.
I mean, we work with young people, so sometimes people need minor corrections, and we find that we can have a really good conversation and get people onto the right path. And the number one thing that we strive to get here is we want people to look at relationships. What is your relationship going to be like with your colleagues if you're a staff member? And then as a staff member, what's your relationship going to be like with students? We want you to be able to build relationships with kids, because if you can build that relationship, the kid becomes comfortable, and the kid will then, hopefully, their learning opens up to them a little bit more. So it's really about relationships in the end. That's what we focus on.
Did you find there were any growing pains for NPC?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much time you have, but the list is long, and the growing pains went on for years and years. It's never quite done. I'm not even sure if it's done now. But it took a long time to establish a culture, because you're always battling with, well, that's not the way we used to do it. And and you have a staff that was split from one big solid staff, 200 teachers at GVC, to kind of, or not quite, but 200 staff members, splitting it, having 100 come this way. Everyone has their different ideas, and everyone's looking out for the kids and what they see as the building and what we want to do. So you're trying to mesh all of those things, but at the same time, you have to come to decisions. So there just lots and lots of growing pains. But it was worth it.
Yeah.
I think anytime you have any kind of conflict or problem, there's a solution to be had. It's just going to take talking to the right stakeholders and figuring that out. So,
have there been any moments that stand out to you with students that have left a lasting impact on you?
Oh goodness, yes. I have students every year that I still think of. It doesn't matter that 12 years ago they graduated or 11 years ago. I have fond memories. Often the students that come my way are ones that have worked their way out of other people's classes and out of their good graces. And but I still have to establish a good relationship with them, and a lot of those kids I think very fondly of. A lot of the kids still come back and say hi, or they'll reach out through social media or a text, how you doing, and then they'll update me on their lives, which is I find very special. I love to still have a connection. I've been invited to many weddings of former students.
Oh, okay.
I had one really fond memory I'll share with you. I had a former student graduated, and the night they were going to propose to their girlfriend, they wanted to cook supper for them, but they didn't know how to cook the supper. So they called me and they asked if I could walk them through. They knew I loved to cook.
Okay.
And so I walked them through the process of making fettuccine, and an hour later, they're down on one knee proposing to their girlfriend. And that's a special moment.
That really is.
You know what I mean? They're not my child, but at the same time, I treat them like my kids. I take ownership of them when they're here.
Yeah.
And for a kid, 5 years later to reach out to me, teacher, I was teacher at that time, to the student, and look for that guidance, that was special.
Yeah, and that's a testament to that culture you try to build, right?
The whole thing about wanting to make sure that we're good together, that I believe in you, believe in what I'm going to be teaching you. You know what I mean? Open your mind, and the relationship, it's so key. Whenever we do even the hiring for this building, the number one thing we're looking for is relationship. Are you going to be able to build relationship? To me, that's what it's all about, and that's what we've worked really hard building.
Would you say your approach to the role has changed at all over the years?
My approach to administration has changed greatly.
Yeah.
From the beginning, you're thinking, when you first get into that, you're very hungry to either make change or set policy or those kinds of things. But as I've gotten older and more comfortable in the role, you start to realize it's about the people, and it's about listening. I spend more time listening to people than I do talking to people, because I have to listen and understand what's going on before I can offer a judgment or an opinion or advice or whatever they're looking for. Often I'll sit down with someone and they'll come in and you can see they have something on their chest and they want to talk about it, and I'll just say, so what do you think you're going to need from me at the end of this? Do you just need an ear, or do you need me to help you figure this out? And based on what they say, then I know kind of what my role is with you. If you just need a sounding board and you really don't need me to say anything, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to listen. But if you're going to need me to give an opinion or help you, then I'll do that as well. But I'll listen first. Okay. That's kind of how it's shifted. And I think that's probably just part of maturing and growing. I'm going to leave this job just when I think I'm starting to figure some things out. And it's interesting to say that after 31 years, but this is a growth industry. We're always growing, and I think you always need to grow. Yeah. If you're not growing and looking at the next thing and what we can do and how we can improve, then you're stagnant. And maybe then it's time you get out of the game. Okay. Right?
Yeah. Do you have any advice for young people considering a career in education?
Oh, yeah, I'd say, like, think long and hard. It's a big decision.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be something you're passionate about. You have to be passionate about people.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be passionate about teaching and learning. You have to be open to new ways of doing things, new ways of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be accepting. We don't get to choose who comes to our school as in student-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be accepting of everyone. And the differences are night and day, which they are in society. And we have to work with everyone. As a teacher, you're in a position of trust. You have to be careful with your words. You're here to open people's minds and help them think. You're not here to tell them what to think. Mm. If that makes sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
I never want to tell someone this is the way you should be. Mm-hmm. If they ask me, what are some options? What are some things? How do you feel about this? I will certainly share those things, but I will never tell anyone this is the way you must think about this. I want people to have an open mind. I want them to make their own judgments. And those judgments in the end can be very similar to mine, very different. I'm okay with that. But make an informed decision, right?
Yeah.
So, and these are kids. They come in here at 13 to 14. They stay till 18-ish. That's the approximate range. Mm-hmm. They're ready for the most part to grow and to think on their own. And so we help support them with that.
Then what's next for Mr. Osinski?
The immediate next is I'm going to take some time with just, my wife and myself. Mm-hmm. My wife's also retiring. She's a teacher at GVC. Mm-hmm. So we're leaving together. Okay. We'll become empty nesters next year as my youngest daughter's graduating this year. So this has been a long time plan of June 2025. If all of life is set in terms of where you hope it's going to be, we were going to retire. So we've known this for a long time and everything has worked out. So we're going to retire. We're going to be empty nesters. She's going off to the U of M next year. Okay. In terms of other plans, life coming at me a bit is the big plan. I spend a lot of time making decisions and grabbing life, and I'm going to let life come at me a little bit and see what I like to do. See who I am outside of the work world. I spend a lot of time in the work world. Yeah. I want to develop some hobbies, and my only immediate plan I have is I'm going to spend September and the beginning of October at my cottage in the White Shell, as that's my little Shangri-La, and I'm just going to enjoy a time. I've never been able to be down there because I'm always at work, right? Because we have prescribed holidays. Yeah. So that's my only immediate plan. Okay. Future past that? Yeah. Travel, time with family, enjoy some hobbies, maybe do a little bit of reading that's not educational based.